Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now for today's video, like promised, I will bring you the 600 pp version of the Escudo Pikes Peak, which is easily able to run at Tokyo and actually be a zero stop car, which is the main advantage of this one. Although we're kind of nerfing a lot of the power and it's not absolutely amazing in terms of its one lap pace, the fact that you do not need to pit stop and you can essentially just run away from the AI on essentially, fuel alone, or fuel consumption should I say, makes this a standout build. Now you're actually going to run this on comfort hards. Now I know that will probably turn a lot of people away, but it's really not that bad. The fact that this car's four-wheel drive really does help it in that sense. So ensure you're running comfort hards on both. Body height adjustment is 95 at the front, and at the rear it's 105. Anti-roll bar is 5 for both. Damping ratio compression is going to be 40 for both the front and rear. Damping ratio expansion is 50 for front and rear. Natural frequency is 4.00 at both. Negative camber angle 0.5 for both, and then toe angle is 0.05 outwards and 0.20 inwards at the rear. On the differential side, we've got initial torque at 10 for both. Acceleration sensitivity is 20 for both. Braking sensitivity is 10 front and 20 rear. Now the front rear torque distribution is 45 to 55, and although you can do that on the fly, I do recommend leaving it at that. We are not running a different transmission for this, however we are running ballast at 57 with a positioning of -50, and the power restrictor is set to 81. We are not restricting the output adjustment on the ECU though. Downforce at the front is 200 and then at the rear is 700, and nothing else needs changing at all. Feel free to pause at any moment. So like I said, this is actually a zero stop strategy, which always, it's kind of a nice change for Tokyo. So what you want to do is set the car into fuel mix 5 and essentially leave it there for the rest of the race. This will give you enough fuel right up until the end. I actually did run out of fuel right at the end, which you will see, which was pretty funny, and essentially we just, sort of rolled across the line. Now, what makes this car so good? Well, I think to me it's just the versatility of this car. You can actually run it at the 800 event, the 700 and the 600. The only one that it's not very good at in terms of the big grinding events is Spa, and that's purely because it doesn't have headlights. So if you want to try it there and be extra brave, then feel free, but I just really wouldn't recommend it. Now the fuel consumption is very good on this car. I do recommend kind of driving it in a short shifting style. Don't over rev it because honestly it will just sort of run wide. But that's just kind of the standard handling characteristics for this car. I really don't feel the comfort hards make that much of a difference to how it actually feels, especially with the surface majority of the time being at least partly wet. As you'll notice on your opening lap, it's actually much more controllable than a lot of cars, and that's mainly because it's obviously four-wheel drive, which really does help it kind of just glide across the surface. It's not massively good on overall speed. You'll find yourself topping out around about, I believe, like 180 to 185. So sometimes the AI, or should I say some of the AI, are actually quicker than you in a straight line. But don't let that deter you. If you're running the slipstream, you can quite easily stay with them, and then as soon as they pit, that's it. You're just going to extend your lead from there by at least half a minute come the end of the event. As you can see, we are quite easily just kind of hanging back, cruising around and just short shifting around just to survive the opening few laps. And that's kind of why I call it the, I guess, survival stage, because for the first kind of lap 1, 2, 3 before you go into lap 4, this surface is just mainly going to be wet, and you just kind of plod around behind the AI and just kind of take your time. And that's the way I'd recommend running this build as well. Nothing's changed to I guess anything else that you'd run at Tokyo. You still kind of have to go into that survival mode of just sort of watching out that you don't get the penalties, you don't kind of bump into the AI or take damage in that, which is the main issue most people have with Tokyo. They'll kind of go onto the first lap with dry tires and then give up and call a car trash, which I don't really get. Like, you need more than a lap to kind of judge a car off. So come lap 4, you're actually going to notice that the track is mainly dry, or it's kind of dry enough for dry tyres at this point. So you should kind of feel a lot more grip coming to the car. You'll find that you can take corners quicker, you don't have to kind of, be as on edge, you can start braking later and such. So do take advantage of that, and it's mainly around lap 4 to 5 where the car will start coming into its own more and more, and you will find those extra levels of grip the more the race goes on. So around about lap 5 I took the lead, and at this point I never had to look back. The AI obviously do their pit stops, some of them pit twice, I think most of them pit twice, so you really don't have to worry about them at this point. Once you've kind of got the lead and they start taking the pits, it's all about just stretching your legs, keeping it nice and clean, and just keeping an eye on your fuel consumption. So as you can see, lap 8, the majority of the AI are going to be pitting around about this point from lap 7 to 8. And again, like I said, you're just going to kind of cruise around and not have to worry too much about them at this point. You will find yourself that there is a possibility you might start lapping some of the slower cars that kind of pit a bit more. If you do get up to them and you do end up start lapping them, just be mindful that they're a little bit dumb and they will move over onto your driving line. And essentially just block you and cause you all sorts of chaos. That's when you're most likely to pick up your penalties at Tokyo, is because for some reason Polyphony didn't quite program blue flags and the AI together correctly. So yeah, just be aware of that. By the time we get to the final lap and we are going through the final few corners, you can see I've only got 1% of fuel left. Obviously I've been short shifting and just kind of cruising around for the last few laps. Now what you're actually going to see here is the engine conk out and myself just roll across the line. So it's pretty funny. It happened right at the end. As you can see, the revs just drop and the fuel is gone. Now you will never ever come to a standstill. You actually have a cruising speed if this does happen. So just to be safe, if you feel like you're going to run out of fuel, just turn the engine down to fuel mix 6 for a lap or so, and that will definitely give you enough to get across the line. But I do recommend that you keep it on fuel mix 5. Now overall we did it in 27 minutes 7 seconds 0.130, so it's not a standout time. The main kind of drawing point to using this car is the fact it's so versatile, and it essentially is one of the very rare cars that does a zero stop, along with the Aston Martin VGT, which again is another one of my favourites just because of how easy it actually makes Tokyo overall. So that's going to be it for today's video. As promised, this 600 pp Pikes Peak is covered as of update 1.24, as well as the 800 version. Now I'm not going to touch on the 700 version. I think that's kind of too obvious. You can kind of figure that one out for yourself. It's really not difficult at all. Now I just want to give a big shout to my sponsor, the Controller People. Go and check them out in the link in the description for awesome pro and custom controllers. Also feel free to check out my Discord and join in. We have a whole community there of like-minded people that like to build new builds and just talk about anything Gran Turismo and racing games in general. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Turn those notifications on so you don't miss an upload from myself. I upload GT7 and racing content each and every day without fail, mostly, unless something drastic happens. So with that being said, that's the end of the video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.